Hello, everybody. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe. We're gathering every morning, every weekday morning, to discuss Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. This morning in particular, we're going to be talking about the self-confidence formula. Yes, there is a formula. This is coming in the chapter about faith, the visualization of and belief in attainment of desire. And faith comes through autosuggestion. We discussed that yesterday, and today we're going to discuss the self-confidence formula, something that oftentimes, even with faith, we don't have faith in ourselves. We have faith in something else, something outside of us. So a way to nurture faith in ourselves, a way to say it maybe, I don't know, I'm going to let you guys tell me if I'm on track or off track, is through this self-confidence formula. There's 5 specific things that Napoleon Hill writes out, actually. And it's things that we tell ourselves and we say aloud, where we resolve to throw off the influences of an unfortunate environment, where we decide to turn our back on that which is holding us back, our excuses, our alibis. And what he is saying is that we can actually build our life to order. So I'm going to read what he says in this chapter. Taking inventory of mental assets and liabilities, you will discover that your greatest weakness is lack of self-confidence. This handicap can be surmounted and timidity translated into courage through the aid of the principle of autosuggestion. And I am here to tell you that is true. That is true. It didn't matter what other people told me. I had to start telling myself. What other people's words did for me when I was ready to feel better about myself and get that confidence is what I can aspire to be in my own mind. So I was told a lot of good things about my abilities, my talents, my skills, what I brought to the table, and I didn't believe them. I didn't have any confidence in my ability to actually do the things people were saying they saw in me, either potential or actually I was doing them and getting compliments. I was doing them well. And so I made the decision, I can't tell you the date I did it, but I actually made the decision that we're going to stop this silliness. We're going to stop this silliness and start paying attention to what other people are saying and believe them, because that's what they're saying and what they're seeing. And then over time, I was able to believe it about myself. That's a rough way of saying how I did this. Now, according to Napoleon Hill, the first thing we can do, all right, this is the self-confidence formula that you apply this by starting in writing. Write this out, then memorize and repeat until it becomes a working part of your subconscious. So if this means that it must be read daily along with your major definite purpose, your definite chief aim, so be it. If this is what you need to get that level of self-confidence to move forward and take action towards attaining your definite purpose, then you can do what it takes, right? Oh, you do what it takes. All right, so number 1 is, I know that I have the ability to achieve the object of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous action toward its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. Oh, that was pretty cool. That's putting it straight out there, right? Hey, Matt. Hey, Corinder, good to see you. Saad, glad you're here. Mike Johnson, nice to see you here. Christian, welcome. Anybody want to jump in and start talking about the self-confidence formula? That was one. There's 4 others I can bring up. Well, tell yourself this every morning. What it says to me is that you're acknowledging that the ability is there, whether you believe it or not at this point, that you can do it. You're seeing you do have the ability. And therefore, you're going to demand of yourself persistent, continuous action. Yeah, I like. Yes. Yes, Ken. It does suggest that it's an act of willpower. It is. It does. We're doing this through autosuggestion. We're telling ourselves that I demand of myself this type of action. And we've already discussed that and shown how we believe what we tell ourselves. Right? So why not tell ourselves something that's going to move us forward into attaining our goal, attaining our chief aim, attaining our major definite purpose? And here comes Brian.
Don't choke on that. No.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Waking up.
Well, that's a darn good start, my friend. It's a darn good start.
Yeah, I like the fact that you're saying it's a process. It's continuous, persistent. You're using those kind of words because I know for myself it's not the now. It's not. It's continual. You set the aim or the chief definite purpose, and then you keep adding to it with your self-confidence.
Okay.
Or using that as a backbone for yourself with your self-confidence.
Okay, that's an interesting way to see it.
Bad.
You're wow, you're what?
Looks like I just jumped out of bed. I didn't sleep in this, honest.
Okay. Even if you did, it's none your business. You know? Well, what this is saying, and this is a principle you can apply toward the continuation of moving on your chief aim and that definite purpose. We're trying to build self-confidence in me. You know, what I'm doing with this is I'm saying that right now I'm lacking self-confidence. I'm not seeing that I truly can do what's going to be needed to be done in order to reach that purpose that I've put out there, or to actually attain it. You know, I put it out there. It's a dream. It sounds really good. Yeah, I've even seen some plans come out that look like it'll work, but I'm not certain that I'm the one that's going to be able to do it. So using the principle of autosuggestion and Napoleon Hill telling me that most of us will discover that our greatest weakness is that lack of self-confidence, here is a tool we can use to build our own self-confidence, tell ourselves. And I think it's the same principle can be used, just as you had said, that as we get more clear about our chief aim, as we get more clear about our definite purpose, we have the confidence to make little changes, to add to it, because we're feeling like, oh yeah, I can do this. Or maybe make it bigger. Is that what you were thinking? Maybe we set our sights too low, and as we gain some confidence, we say, oh, I can do more.
Yes, I agree.
Nice. Well, like you, I like that he tells me that just by saying this out loud, it's not going to happen overnight or the moment I say it. But I'm committing to being persistent and continuous in my action. And I'm saying it out loud, so eventually it becomes a part of my subconscious, which is the whole point.
I find it interesting that I have to go back and find things that I've written just to remember them. Is that the sign of old age?
Oh, no, I think that's part of the human condition. I think it's part of the human condition. Hello, Steve. Welcome. Hi, Paul. Good to see you here. Jim Ziegler, nice to see you here. Anne, my friend, how are you? Oh, Jim, well, I'm glad you popped in for the moment. It's okay that you can't stay. Glad to see you here.
I find it interesting. I took, of course, I'm studying self-esteem for our 16 to success.
Yep.
Bit.ly link now. No, I'm sorry.
Boom, right.
And I have steps to grow self-esteem and limit those who speak into you. Take what you need for your journey. Be open to change, but you're the author. You're the author. You're the author of your book, chapter, and your sentence. Don't let people derail the book topic because of their opinion. Because that's really close to opine, if you hear that. And if they opine too much, they can just close the book.
Yes, they can. So what you're saying is absolutely backing up what Napoleon Hill says about being able to build your own life to order, where you can resolve to throw off the influences of an unfortunate environment. And what I'm taking from what you said is that those people that are the naysayers or that really have no business giving you advice because they're not the ones that can help you move forward, constructive or otherwise, they can't. They're just giving opinions that you can internalize. Throw those off, right?
Yeah, sometimes that's really hard to do.
Oh, of course it is.
That's extremely hard to do.
Isn't that why we start to surround ourselves with new people, though? Make new alliances?
And then in that same vein, we need to listen to, but not internalize the critic. Because a lot of times we take stuff and they'll throw something at us, and sometimes it's even used to beat us up. And that's not the intent. Or they want to come on and just argue with you about your thought, your opinion, your...
Oh, for the sake of argument?
Yeah.
Just because?
Yes. And
I love Matt. Love that. Oh, read that out loud for me, will you? That's funny.
Criticism, eat the fish and spit out the bone.
Oh, yes. That is good. Very good, Matt.
Yeah.
So take what you want and leave the rest, right?
My ex wouldn't eat fish because of the bones, and I thought that was kind of ridiculous because I eat salmon all the time, and it's how I keep this girlish figure. But
now we know the secret. Now we know the secret. Good morning, Gabriel. Good to have you with us. Hi, Paul. I'm glad you stopped in here. Matt, do you want to jump in and talk about self-confidence in this formula and that wonderful little quip?
Sure.
About criticism. Yes, good to see you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How goes it?
Good. Goes really well. Yeah, I was thinking about criticism. I love images make some stuff so tangible and understandable, because it just takes something that's you can sort of grasp and makes it easy to understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see things now. It's just analogies. It's so easy to see things in terms of images. That's just how.
Well, is this because of all the journaling you've been doing on leadership with all your drawing out and trying to understand, and now it's become a habit for you to think that way?
It's fun though. I was in related to the definition of purpose. We were in choir last semester, and we were talking about driving the dynamics of a group of people singing and trying to keep everybody on the same pace. And we were doing a sforzando, which is where you start really loud and then you cut to really silent and then you crescendo outward and get louder.
Okay.
And we were like, how I was thinking, like, how do you describe that to somebody if you wanted them to actually do it? So I was like, oh, it's kind of like when you draw a bow or you draw an arrow on a bow, and then you pull the bow back and then you release the arrow. So I was saying sforzando is when it's loud and the arrow hits, and then you pull the string and it gets loud, 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 and then you release the arrow and it's really loud, and then you pull another arrow up and it's silent. And my like the conductor used that for the rest of the semester.
How cool is that?
Like every day for the rest of the semester. I don't know how that stuff happens, but it just worked.
That's the point. It works. We take what works. And that's the whole point about what your criticism and what Brian is saying is that we can get to a point where, yes, we are able to throw off the negatives.
Mm-hmm.
We're able to turn our backs on them. We can get to that point. If we're not there yet, we can get there. So if we have a tendency to absorb all that people are throwing at us, right? Those arrows that are coming, and we take them in, then this is definitely a formula that can start to reverse the process, make you bulletproof is what I call it.
Yeah. Well, people start to sort of drive you around and write your life story for you.
Yeah.
And
that happens to so many people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It does.
A lot of it's just other people's thoughts and other people's opinions are what drive what you do. It's like people are throwing bricks at you, right? And you're taking every brick to try to build your house, but the bricks are different shapes and sizes. So if you take everything that everybody's giving to you and try to work with it, people don't know what works for you, though. You really don't, because they don't know what your circumstances are. They don't know your conditioning and your life story. So,
or they're not even in your circumstance, and yet they want to dictate to you what you will and will not do.
Or they just want to manipulate you and use you. I mean, that's part of it,
and then it does come down to that. But then there are those that don't. They have no idea what you're taking from them.
Yeah.
They really don't. This, when you have somebody who is so strongly influenced by everybody else, because I mean we can say it in a lot of different ways. And they have no self-esteem. They have no backbone. They've been beaten down, or they've never been built up. Yeah. They've never been taught. They never took responsibility for themselves. They're in a position, right, that emotionally they're willing to just do whatever anybody else tells them.
Yeah.
And not think for themselves because they don't think they can. And the difference is when somebody suddenly rebels, that's where a difference comes in. And when you're ready to rebel against that and to make those changes, it says, no, you guys aren't leading me down the path that I want to go. I don't like this. I want something different. This is a formula that can help you get to the point where you can start making decisions and feel confident about them.
Do you think that's where the whole, I always wondered where the phrase "fake it until you make it" comes from, but I don't know if that's really the right wording to go about that, because you're really taking action to build your confidence when you can make decisions and you can act. What
we're doing here actually is one step before the action.
Oh yeah.
See, we made the decision that, and we saw either through self-analysis or took a personal inventory of the mental assets and liabilities, mental all being up in the head, right? Took a look at how we're talking to ourselves, how we're taking what other people are saying. Take a look at all that and identify that there's the problem. There's the problem. We can call it lack of self-confidence. So how do we replace those thoughts? Because we can't just get rid of them. That's what I've learned about me. I can't just say, go away, because it won't. Instead, I have to replace that thought with something. I have to learn how to think differently. How do you do that? Well, here is a formula. It is using different words on a regular basis until it becomes a part of who you are. Right? I can condition myself to respond to something before it ever happens to me.
Yeah.
I know that to be true. I can condition myself to not be afraid to ski a slope in northern Michigan through that visualization and telling myself every morning that I will not be afraid to do that. And I'll be the first one to tell you that after I did that and I went down halfway and they brought me the rest of the way in the medical toboggan, I didn't do that again. But that's because I had proof. It's because I had proof, okay? But I can condition myself to that prep work that I've talked about when I go, before I go on stage or when I'm prepping for, I don't have to do it with this program because it's very different. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I don't have to prep for this program, and I'll tell you why. It's because I have friendly people that join me here. I don't have the critics, and if I do, I have the power to X them.
Yeah, you do. You have the power to. That's what the blog button's for.
But it's interesting. I've seen over these months, though, I've seen where you, who are joining me here, have responded to the critics, so I didn't have to.
Yep, they backed you up. Which, I mean, we had one.
So there's that circle, right? Yeah, you're right. Go ahead, Brian.
We had one yesterday that was on here. You guys are all full of it. You guys are, and I'm going, really? You're outnumbered, you idiot. You've got how many people in here, and we're all listening, and you're over there doing this? You're throwing the rotten tomatoes, and there was quite a few people.
He's just a funny little man.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's a funny little man. But I got to tell you, I don't have to do a lot of prep work because I have Steve said it. You know, I've surrounded myself with this program, or attracted, or whatever you want to call it. I am in the same room with Matt and Brian, who are pretty terrific fellas. All right. And they not only support what I'm doing, they're sharing of themselves. Mm-hmm. And when we disagree, we talk about it so we can learn from each other. And then it's I'm going to agree to disagree. And that's cool because it's a place that we can do that in. So I feel confident when I come in here because you guys show up.
Yeah, we can
Steve
do that.
Said, you affirm for me that I'm doing the right thing by being here. Mm-hmm. So that's a good way to put it. Is I have to prep myself though before I do a training session or workshop, or I get out in a big crowd, especially if I walk out on stage to do a presentation or to speak. Yeah. I have to prep myself, and it's part of it's confidence, part of it is other things, and so I had that self-talk.
Hecklers. They're out there.
I don't get hecklers, or if I do, I don't hear them because honestly, I with the hearing problem, it comes in handy. It does.
I wish I had your hearing problem.
Yeah, selective hearing. So anyway, this is what this is about, right? This is what this confidence formula is about. It's about that self-talk. We can change it. We can replace it. You know, I mean, what do you say when you get up in the morning and you look in the mirror? There were times when I would say, "Oh my word, I don't want to be seeing that." Not kidding. You know, this is not pretty. Well, that's the first thing you say to yourself, right? So you change what you say, and this is one way to do it: is practice. Yeah, scream wax the hair.
Hello, delicious. Yeah, it really is like the mind is a stage, and the thoughts that dominate that stage every day will produce themselves outward, because it's like the people. Yes. I don't know what it is. Some people, I see this sometimes. Some people like to sort of have a passive aggressive way of complaining. Like I know.
Hey, wait a minute! I perfected
like when
that.
they stop. No, when people sometimes are like eating lunch at work. I don't know. Ever heard of like a happy laugh? Like somebody who is complaining about something, but they don't want to be so serious about it, so they like laugh while they say they hate it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's confusing. I'm just like, can you just talk about it?
Oh yeah, welcome to my world. Now you're trying to understand how people communicate.
And it's the same thing every day. So I've learned to like sort of disengage and not confront those things, because it's just, I don't know. You can tell when people are on the same wavelength when they get in conversation, they immediately connect on things, whether it's talking deeply about things or just complaining about everything. And then two other people won't mesh.
Yeah. Yes, it's obvious. And that's interesting to point out, that sometimes all we have to do is open our eyes and watch how other people interact to learn how to do it ourselves, or to identify that this is what I'm looking for. I want to be on the inside what I'm seeing up there on the stage or in front of me here in live stream, or whomever is talking in the comment section, or people that I follow and admire, the leaders that I'm following. You know, there's things that I'm attracted to and trying to develop in myself because I see in them what I want to exhibit in myself. But it has to start from the inside. Mm-hmm. And it has to start with the belief that I can do it.
Because if you don't think you can.
That's right.
You won't.
That's right.
All right, I have to hop out and go to work.
Okay, dear.
So
thanks for being here.
Good to see all of you.
Good to see you. Always good to see you, Matt. So yeah, the second one is about the understanding and realization that the dominating thoughts of my mind will reproduce themselves in an outward physical action. They will. They do. I mean, that's what I liked about Napoleon Hill saying that we take inventory of our mental assets and liabilities, because that which I think is what I'm doing. So if I feel badly about myself, I am going to walk around a little slump-shouldered. I'm going to walk a little slower. I'm not going to have a bounce in my step. I'm going to exhibit physically, you know, how I feel about myself. I'll wear baggy, nondescript clothing. You know, that sort of thing. But it also expresses itself in my verbiage, right? When we tear other people down, it's because we're not feeling so good about ourselves. So that it does express itself. So once I'm able to see that, he's giving me the answer of how I can change it. And this is, you know, this is what we do. There's the formula. We read it aloud in the morning until it becomes a part of who we are. In this case, in step number 2, he's talking about, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become. How powerful is that? Visualize who it is that you want to be. You ever done that one, Brian?
I do it quite frequently, actually.
Okay.
Well, if I set aside 30 minutes to do it, but I'll see somebody I admire and I'll go, I want those traits. Mm-hmm. I want that self-confidence. I want that, or I don't want. I thought several times, I don't want where I am now. I want where I want to be. You know, part of moving to Colorado Springs was one of those things. I've always wanted to be here. A youth pastor in Evergreen many years ago, and would drive by this mountain to pick somebody up at the airport or something like that. And I would literally say, I want to be there. So.
Okay. Cool. Good morning, Jose. Welcome.
Morning. For me, what I do for self-confidence is I always like to take a risk and see how well I can achieve something, and then that achievement gives me pride, and then that.
Yes. So taking the action in spite of so even if you're nervous or afraid, you're still going to take the action because you challenge yourself to do it.
Yes. I keep on challenging myself.
So I like that. Yeah.
With things, and after a while, I get more comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. I just go outside of my comfort zone.
That's tough, though. I got to tell you, I'm going to put up the little wall, the barrier, the negative, just because I can, and for a moment only. Sure. To recognize, but only to recognize that and acknowledge that there are some people that before they're able to take that step, they get stuck in the fear. That's why they're not doing anything. You know, I mean, the sitting and wishing you had the guts to get on the skateboard, the sitting and wishing you had the nerve to get up on stage. You know what I mean? Before you're able to challenge yourself.
sometimes you need a little bit a push, you know, just a
Yeah.
little push, and then people can surprise you. But you do it to what they're capable of doing.
So are you saying then that you are fortunate enough to have people that'll push you?
Yes, I had my mother pushed me when I was younger to
Wonderful.
higher things. Yeah, yeah. So uh, she said, take the opportunities right now because they won't always be there, and the same opportunities won't always be there at the moments that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you take those opportunities, they'll grow other opportunities later on.
And you found that to be true, I'm sure.
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, other things, other people, other things bring out other places. Like Blab example, that's another opportunity right there.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to you is another opportunity.
You're right. You're right. I'm wholeheartedly agreeing with you. For me, I really do need other people to push me a little bit.
Right.
Because I will get lost in my own thoughts, and I'll be the one that sits on the couch and do the wishing and completely forget that, you know, if wishes were horses, we'd all have a ride. get caught up in the, oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, I wish I could. I wish I could, you know, instead of being forthright, which is what Napoleon Hill is teaching us, to just state it out loud exactly like you just did. Right. That look at it a little differently. I like the way that you said it's you challenge yourself. I know I said that. That's the way I heard you say it, is that you just go ahead and take the risk so you can look afterwards and see. So you're looking for feedback. You're looking to see, well, what happened there? Did it work? Did it not work? I'm still standing up, sucking air, so it was okay.
Right. And I also heard at least you don't regret what you do. If you tried it, then you can make as many, at least I learned as I'm young, I can make more mistakes than when I'm older, then I can regret, I guess, right? So
yeah, it's easier to survive the mistakes we make when we're young.
Yeah. So I try to make as much mistakes so I can learn from them.
I'm gonna open up the seat.
Okay, Brian. Interesting, Jose. Interesting. Very interesting. I'm glad you're sharing that. Anybody want to jump in and join me and Jose in that discussion about stepping forward without thinking, or use part of this formula to get to a point where we can say, I'm just going to go ahead and jump in and do it. I finally got to that point where I was able to. Good morning, Ralph. Meet Jose. Jose, meet Ralph.
Hello. Hi, Ralph.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I think everything that we do, you have thought to realize it. It begins that the thought is the conception of whatever is going to be. You know, the chairs that we sit in, somebody thought about that. You know, once thought, designed that. You know, so everything is a thought. So if we're at a place that we want to grow from, we have to think of where we want to go. You know, I get in my car, you know, I can just sit there. I got to think of where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do. So
we've got that, but now here comes the issue. And Jose is saying that he's able to look at the fear or the anxiety he has, or the lack of confidence he has in his ability to attain what he's going after, and says, well, I'm going to jump in anyway. I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to take a look and learn from the experience. And then there's others that get lost in the thought of, see, it replaces that thought. I know I want this, but I'm really too afraid. I can't do it. I lack. I'm not good. And I just don't know how, whatever, you know how that works. And so now we're to the point of saying, all right, so we recognize all of that. I want to be where Jose is, honestly. I want to be where Jose is that says, well, okay, I'm just going to jump in. We're going to see what happens. And I'm not there yet, but I think one of the ways we can get there is to consciously replace those old thoughts. Teach ourselves to, instead of saying, I wish, say, how can I? Or learn from this formula, take those words and say, I will be persistent. I can do this. I don't know how right now, but I can ask how.
Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Pardon me?
Feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's sometimes we can go out and paralyze ourselves by, using the example of the car. It's a snowy day and the roads are slick. We can paralyze ourselves and just sit in the car. We're not going to get anywhere. Personally, after experiencing an automobile accident, slick roads are not my
they're not your friend.
but I know I have a choice. Either I can just sit in my car, or I can go out there, overcome my fear, and go to where I need to go. And that's the same way with life. You can sit there and worry about what you're going to do. If you're going to launch a new product, or if you're going to write a book, or if you're going to go out and even apply for a job someplace. Well, they're not going to hire me. You can allow that fear to be so great that you stay in the same place.
Right. Well, and you just said it. You just told yourself they're not going to hire you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And that's
our self-talk is, I can hold entire conversations in my head, right?
Yeah. You heard me say, we keep on telling ourselves the stories, and those stories, can hold us back, or you can tell yourself a different story that, why not? Hey, I may not have the education, but, I'm a quick learner, and I'm 63. I got years of experience. I've got more experience than that person that's coming fresh out of college.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got more to offer. What story are you going to tell yourself?
Yeah, that's it. Well, and Dolores over here says it does. And I do agree with Dolores. We're all different. And a lot of this depends on what's driving us. Yes, that's the point, is that it is individual subconscious of our limiting beliefs. And the whole point of this exercise, the whole point of the conversation here is, what can we tell ourselves different? And I love the way Ralph is saying it, is that we change the story, because we're all telling ourselves something.
Yeah.
Just change it.
Yeah.
Just change it. Say, hey, David, welcome. Good to see you. And then we have Ken saying, very small children don't have self-confidence issues. It only comes when they start comparing themselves with others. They learn from experience, but are not constrained by it. No, I can disagree with that.
We're taught to fear, with.
No, I don't know. I just, I'm just, based on what the family tells me, I was the very cautious one. I always sat and I watched somebody else do it first. I wasn't one to just jump in and do anything. What
were you telling me?
Talking toddler. This is before I knew. I knew. I'm just saying that, in general, yes, it appears that small children don't have self-confidence issues. In general.
We teach ourselves, we start telling ourselves stories at a very young age. I mean, you're talking about an infant, they start crying. What happens? It's not uncommon, especially if grandpa and grandma are there, they get picked up.
Mm-hmm.
So they relate, well, if I want to be held,
right.
They start in that.
They start the training process. That's the way I always look at it. I'm not a mom, but when I look at the little ones, it's like they're training you, parent. Honestly, they're training you. So, yeah. Anyway.
But a baby starts walking, and right away, if they start stumbling, what does a parent or a grandparent or an adult, carrying adult do?
In general, they go to stop them.
They go grab them. Okay, what's linking up in their little minds? What, oh, I can't do this.
Or I can, because somebody's going to catch me every time. So what the heck? See, we have different, there's, again.
The story they're telling themselves from baby on.
Right. We each learn differently. I'm going to go back to what Dolores was saying, is that each of us has something we're bringing to the world. We're bringing something to the table. And as we become older, it behooves us, if we want to bring more to the table and if we want to be better and we want to do more and we want to improve and have success, behooves us to take a look at who we are right now and what we're working with.
Well, I also think it's about communication. So when you're older, you learn more communication skills and you learn how to adapt and you see how things work. As you're younger, you have little cognitive ability. You're barely learning. So I think it can be learned.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this is what I love, Jose. This is one thing I love about Napoleon Hill, is he will be the first one to say that we can all learn how to do this, based on all the hundreds and hundreds of people that he interviewed, watched, researched. He spent well over 20 years pulling together this data and pulled all the commonalities out. Every one of these successful people had what we're talking about. They had self-confidence. Well, how do you get that? Because he's saying to himself, well, that's great. You have self-confidence. How did you get that? How can I get that? Because I should be able to. There's nothing, we were both born at the same time. We hit the world. So how do we learn how to do these things, right? How do we learn how to be persistent? How do we learn how to communicate? How do we learn all that? And that's what he's pulling out of all of the adults he was talking to, saying, let's think about this. This can be something I can learn myself. How does this work? That's what I love about him, is because I love, just as Ralph is saying, I can change the story that I'm telling myself.
There's a message. We had a document here in the UK observing 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. The changes were very marked at the young age, and they behaved the same until they interacted. When you start interacting with other people, what I get out of that report is that we get feedback. Okay, if I walk into a room in high school, I did not have a high self-esteem of myself. Mm-hmm. Okay, but there were people that sometimes there's kids that, especially the girls, they had to hug each other when they seen each other, and there were people that I came from a very small school to a high school that had larger grade schools, and those relationships were already formed. So to break into that, and somehow, some which way, I linked that I wasn't quite accepted as the other children, and not what was me, but through the high school. But once I got out of high school and mingled in the real world, boom, that was gone. But I was relating other people's actions and reactions to each other as a action and reaction to myself. And so I love what that report. Yeah, I totally get it. And I think two little ones, we have that "if this is mine" attitude, where two little ones get together and one picks up the other's toy and the fight begins. It's how people act and react to each other.
Right.
And that's the stories we start.
It is. But I have to recognize what the story is, right?
Yes.
I have to recognize what it is and be willing. I think that's where it starts, is again with that thought that says, what I'm doing isn't working.
Yeah.
There is some things, whatever it is, it's not working because I am not where I would hoped I would be, or I'm looking at somebody else and I'm thinking, how did you get there? Because I'm not seeing it. And I believe that you are where I want to be. Now, in my words, I can tell you that if you want what I have and you want to be where I am right now, you're going to have to do the things that I did to get here. So those are my words. Well, Napoleon Hill did that by looking at and interviewing all those successful business people and saying, well, what did you do to get there? Yeah. So that's the way I look at the instruction manuals, if you will, that he wrote. Think and Grow Rich, Law of Success, the course. And then repetition, because honestly, the first time I read this, it made no sense to me whatsoever. And then It wasn't working for me throughout 2014 and into 2015. It wasn't working. I was in a place that I couldn't pull myself out of. And that's why I started the Blab. And I'm so glad everybody continues to join me on here. I started this way back in August, Jose. And every weekday morning. And slowly but surely, parts of it didn't make sense at all to me. And I'm glad we had the discussion so that I can start learning really what's meant. And people like Ralph bringing in the other verbiage that says, what's the stories you're telling yourself? Oh, well, bingo. Well, duh. You know? So, and being able to understand that it really does start with us. You know, it starts inside.
I think Napoleon Hill was the father. Tony Robbins is to me kind of the Napoleon Hill, because that's what he does. He studies people, what works and what doesn't work. And he's got a new book out, The Game of Money. And he studied the top financial people to get the formula basically to how people can make money and how they can invest and so on and so forth. So, if we are not the persons that we want to be, or if we have I enjoy public speaking. So looking at Tony Robbins, looking at Zig Ziglar, looking at Les Brown, looking at some of these what I so-called icons, and trying to pick up, what's working for them and what is my personality, what fits for me. And then from there, you were talking about seeing ourselves, that 30 minutes of visualizing, I think it's more than 30 minutes. I think, yes, that anchors, but it's a work in progress. I mean, it's a work in progress. It's going to blabs like this that are inspirational and talk about the key components, and it's up to each individual that comes to these blabs to rewrite their story. Each day is a blank page, and we get up and we write our story. We can rewrite what we did yesterday, or we can say, yes, I never got on a stage to speak, but this is what I'm going to do, and start building and working on things like that to get ourselves to that point.
Yeah, we can build ourselves and grow within ourselves, I guess.
But,
yes, I like that, Ralph. But you know me, I tend to go a little more literal.
I have an appointment, so I need
to.
You have a great day.
Thank you, dear. So glad you stopped by. I tend to go a little more literal, and he knows I'm going to say this because he's been with me for as long as he has. And it's a slight disagreement in that the rewriting of the story, I can start the day anew at any time, but I must acknowledge what has happened previously. It's important. I just want to add to that it's important that I understand that I am where I am. Take that mental inventory of my mental assets and facilities and capabilities, where am I right now? And I can start over again, start the day over again, change my thinking. So it's just one little piece.
Well, we can only grow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the point, Jose. Thank you. That's the point is to grow from spot to spot. You have to have a starting point, whatever that starting point is. At least it's a starting point. And as Dolores is saying, yeah, you have to own the story.
And also,
I am part of the reason I got here today, good, bad, or indifferent.
And also not to be so hard on yourself, because you can only understand what you understand at this moment. And you, once you have that awareness, you can change that after you get the awareness.
David in the site is saying, and I think it's right in line with what you're saying, Jose. Tell me if I'm wrong. He agrees that self-confidence comes from within, but also surrounding yourself with the right people and mentors that care about you is important. It's about the community and fellowship you have with like-minded individuals. That goes both ways. I am like the people I surround myself with. So if I have friends in low places, I'm going to be spending a lot of time in gutters and in crawl spaces, right? If I have friends in high places, I'm going to spend a lot of time in the upstairs rooms, or in the front room, in the kitchen with people, or in the boardroom.
Well, he was talking about Tony Robbins, and at least I was watching a video of Tony Robbins, and he said a great way is to be it doesn't matter what kind of people you relate to, but is to be emotionally fit. So when you go through these struggles, that you can take care of yourself, whether you get negative or positive energy, you can deal with it in your own results, and you can build upon that.
And that ties in with Napoleon Hill's idea of the autosuggestion. Right. What are we telling ourselves? And the reality is that, because step number 3 out of 5 that he's got in this formula says that anything that you have in your mind, any desire you hold permanently in your mind, you are persistently thinking about it, will seek expression through practical means. Mm-hmm. So one way to make sure that you're on track with who you want to be, or who you want to change into, is to devote 10 minutes a day to demanding of yourself the development of self-confidence. Tell yourself for the next 10 minutes, today I'm going to focus on being self-confident. Today I will be self-confident. It's amazing. It sounds so simple. And what you were saying, Jose, sounded so simple. And and it is, it's just not easy. And what Ralph was saying about just rewrite your story, it sounds really simple, but it's not easy. So this is one way to recognize that we know it's not easy, but there is something you can do. And I'm a trainer. I'm very much about the tactical, making sure that if you're going to tell me a theory, or you're going to tell me a woohoo, or you're going to tell me a woo-woo, this ethereal stuff, it's great, but tell me how to get there. Tell me how. And that's what I love about Napoleon Hill. He's telling us how to do it. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think he probably means you just have to go through the process and learn it, right? We kind of learn as people.
Yeah. Yeah. And as others have been saying in the site, it's thank goodness for places like Blab. We can find like-minded people. Right? Exactly. I can jump in on a conversation or somebody's Blab, not in live stream, but in the site, and determine from there, are these the kind of people I want to hang around? Right. Are you saying the kind of things that I'm interested in learning or that I agree with? And there's times I've popped out and said, nope, we're not in alignment here. This isn't where I want to be. So I move on to a different conversation, if you will.
Right. You are what you eat, right?
Yes. You are what you consume. Mind. Exactly. That's it, Jose. That's it. And what we're saying here is, and what Napoleon Hill is telling me, and I've seen it be true, and others have seen it be true, is that we can feed our own mind.
Exactly.
Let's see. This is the things that you write down, and you say this every day. So number 4 in developing that self-confidence is you say aloud that you have clearly written down a description of your definite chief aim, that thing you're going after, the big dream that now is something that you're going to do, and you're not going to stop trying until I have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. So this is the it still might be a wish, but by gosh, I'm going to go ahead and write it down. And this is what I'm going to go after. And I don't think I can do it. So now I have to build that self-confidence to be able to get to the point where I can do it. So I can say these things. Yeah, it is like a mantra. It is. It can be a meditation, if you will, or a mantra where I repeat this to the point where I'm open to having other people help me along the way. Other people that can help me build that confidence. Because if I'm saying this stuff to myself, here's the interesting thing. When you, Jose or Dolores or Ken or Christian or Brian, my friends in here, say something positive to me about how well I'm doing or how good I am at doing something, if I've been prepping myself with this type of self-talk, I'm more inclined to just simply say thank you. and accept it as a compliment instead of, oh, no, this isn't any big deal. This is, I don't know, being very uncomfortable with those kind of compliments. And that's how it can manifest itself. So yeah, it is like a mantra, Ken. Is David still here? I have to ask. Where are you, David? He's on a road trip. Last time I saw him, he was in DC.
Yes, he's still here.
Yeah, there he is. Good morning.
Good morning, Davey.
And I can't hear
good morning.
you.
Can you hear me?
I can. Where are you now, dear?
I am in Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Well, you took a heck of a circuitous route from DC to Texas. Have you already been to Florida?
Yes, I was in
Okay.
St. Petersburg for 5 days for a wedding, and the
Okay.
wedding was absolutely stunning. It was beautiful.
Excellent.
And I got to spend some good time with my good friend. I was a groomsman in his wedding.
Nice.
And we had so I've known him for 7 years, and he is a great guy. He's just an amazing guy. And we always talk about life. We talk about challenge, career, business, family. We talk about all the different spokes of life. And so he's not on Blab yet. I'm trying to get him on Blab.
Well, get him on Blab. Get him out here.
Yeah, I'm trying to get all my friends on Blab.
Tell him we want him on here. We want to meet him. We want to meet friends.
Thanks for all the props. I appreciate
You're
that.
cool. All right. So now I have a question for you. Have you ever had issues with self-confidence?
Absolutely. Yes. And so self-confidence, I believe everyone has a little bit of self-confidence issues or self-confidence or self-doubt. And I think that is a product of our society, a product of the human race. I mean, people are always striving to be better. They're always comparing themselves. They're always saying, no, what about me? What about you? And so for me to make that a little bit more personal, I mean, there's confidence in all areas of life, I would say. But for me, I've had self-confidence struggles with the way I present myself. So a great example of that is when I was in high school, I actually had really, really bad acne. And I think it was actually a hereditary thing because my father had acne and I think his grandfather did too. But for me, I kind of projected that onto who I was as a person and my identity. And so I didn't really take back and have my identity in something greater. So for now that, I went through that and I've had many other memories and many other kind of challenges, if you will. I now find my identity in a greater being in God.
Okay.
And so when I have that identity in faith, and whether it's Buddha or whether it's Islam, whether you're atheist, if you have an identity in something greater than yourself, maybe that's a purpose, your confidence now comes from that identity. Okay. And now you can look to that for your strength and for your courage. And when you surround yourself with people who have a similar calling or a similar purpose that's greater than themselves, you now can challenge each other. As the Bible says, iron sharpens iron. So it's kind of like you would never take, sand or clay and try to sharpen a knife, right? You get flint or you get steel. Yeah. So you would get something that's going to sharpen you and make you stronger. And I say that when you surround yourself with confident people, you'll become more confident.
Love that.
I mean, do you agree, disagree, thoughts?
I actually agree. But I also think that we have to have some of that self-assessment. I got to be honest with myself, that I'm still afraid. Or while I'm watching you do that which you're doing and want to pull and be like you, if you will, sometimes I'm not able to change my own story. And so that's where a formula like this or having somebody be able to talk me through how to change that story comes in. But I have to be willing to ask for the guidance. I have to be willing to ask for the tool, I'm a rough piece of iron here and I need somebody to help me smooth out, but I've got to I've got to say it to somebody else before I'm going to get the tool to be able to file it and be what I want to be. So it still comes back to personal responsibility and recognition that I want to be more than what I am now. I want to make these changes, and then putting myself out there to ask somebody, how do I do this?
Yeah, I agree with the introspection part. And given that you're an introvert, it makes a lot of sense that you say that, but it's totally true, because if you realize the value that you have, that you are a good person, that you are, that you're a unique individual, and that you have value to give to other people, and you're okay with that, that takes introspection to say, okay, here's who I am, here's what I want to be, here's my goals, and that gives me confidence. And then, just like you said, when you surround other people that help you, reflect on yourself, see your blind spots, say, here's your strengths, here are things that I see in you. So for me, I enjoy uplifting people and saying, look, you're a really strong communicator, Charlene, because you command an audience and people listen to you. And so by doing that, that builds up your self-confidence and also helps you realize, okay, well, maybe David's onto something. We should continue to be a part of each other's community so that we can lift each other up. And this isn't in vain. This isn't like, hey, you rub my back, I'll rub yours. This is, okay, if self-confidence is the thing that you're working on, let's make a plan. Let's talk about how we can improve that for both you.
That's it. And you just touched on it. There's great value in having those like-minded people, or those that you want to be like. Just immerse yourself in the community of the people you want to be like. You're not. You're not. But this is what feels good. This is where you want to be. You're just uncomfortable because you're not there yet. You don't measure up quite yet. But there's nothing wrong with being a part of them, watching them, asking them, and putting yourself out there to say exactly what David said, which is that recognizing that which you're offering to me. Pointing out just simple compliments, sincere compliments make a big difference, and they'll make you feel better because you're getting out of yourself, get out of your own thinking. Makes a big difference. One thing that I like to do, just a trick or a tip for anybody who's wondering, well, how do you run around and give compliments to people because they don't like getting them, is because really a lot of people have difficulty with a genuine compliment. So what I've learned to do since social media is I'll send purposefully, I'll just pick out a handful of people and think about them individually and want to think about what's the one real thing that I like about them. And then I'll send them a private message. And on Facebook or Twitter, sometimes on LinkedIn, and just send them a little message saying, I was thinking about you today and just wanted you to know I really, really like the way that you speak, or the way that you dress, or the way that you handled this past situation, or, I just wanted you to know. And that's it. That's it. You walk away. And if it's sincere, it only works if it's sincere. And what works is the reward is throughout the day, I've set myself up to think positively about other people, which in turn helps me to think positively about me. It's all that cycle, right? So the thoughts become the actions, become the emotions, become the thoughts, the actions, the emotions. It's all one and the same. All right, so I'm at the top of the hour. I need to stop the recording out of respect for those who expect it to last an hour. And I can keep the room open for about 30 minutes. I have a top of the hour appointment that's a pretty big deal, so I need time to prep for it. And to close out the recording, I thank everybody who's joined me in the live stream. That would be Matt and Brian and Ralph and David and Jose. Thank you so much. Those who've joined in the conversation in the comment section, terrific comments and questions coming out of there. Thank you so much, adding to the discussion here. And for those of you watching the replay, thanks for hanging with us this long. I appreciate you. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.